Okay, if you could state your name for us, please.
Chelsea Middendorf.
Okay, Chelsea. So what is your community?
Physically, I would say Logan Square because it's where I live right now, but I don't necessarily think that community is defined by physicality. I think Logan Square just happens to be where I live, but I also make it my community. So community is whoever recognize. Okay, sorry. Just continue. I'm thinking ahead to the next question because I'm thinking about it.
But you can blend them together.
Yeah, so definitely Logan Square is my community because I really feel the sense of community since I've moved there. But also the artist community is my community. Columbia is my community. Urban farmers are my community. So.
Okay. So you started to get into it, but let's talk about it just a little bit more. So how do you define your community?
I've defined my community primarily if people are aware if they're part of a community. It's kind of vague. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but I consider myself to be a member of a particular community because I am aware of the other people in that community. So others who are part of my community would, I assume, would be thinking the same thing. I don't always think that. I'm sure communities have like negative and positive sides to it, but I feel like being a part of a community is in itself being aware of other people, and awareness to me is like also appreciation of other people in your surroundings, and just the act of being aware is the act of knowing that you belong to something. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like I'm going in circles. It's really early, but community is what makes up a community is what the people of that community decide is significant to the community. Like it's just community and a community, but
yeah,
community is what it.
So since you're a part of the Logan Square community and also the Columbia community, how do you know who's a part of your community?
Probably also self-recognition. So with Columbia, it's so easy to assume who is part of the Columbia crowd, but I don't think that everyone who goes to school here would consider themselves thrown into the community as soon as they get here. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying? Like, I think it takes a bit to work your way into like what's going on.
Okay. So we'll just pick up where we left off.
The third question.
Yes. So, yeah, how do you know who's a part of your community?
I think the best way, cutting off all the rambling I said before, is really who cares about the community. So if, even my roommate who lives in Logan Square with me, if they don't necessarily care about how certain parts of Logan Square are kind of being degraded right now, or being a part of a community requires a certain awareness, appreciation, and environmental and social concerns. I know not everyone thinks that, but to me, if you are going to recognize yourself as being a member of a particular group, there are guidelines, not written or official guidelines, but there are. I mean, why would you say you want to be a part of this? There's this urban garden in Logan Square. I don't know if you know the area very well. I work with the urban garden, and why would you say, well, I'm a part of the urban garden but never do anything? So I just don't understand why people would want to be considered like also like part of the art community if they don't care about the way contemporary art has, been has come directly from like past art. So it's just, I don't think that people, I'm like assuming now about other people, but okay, so personally, I'll talk about myself then. Being a part of a community means that you care about the community. And sometimes maybe it is as simple as that. It's not about the surface of it, but I know there's like so many things to like pick apart and look deeper and deeper and deeper. But on the ground level, like if you don't care about the people and the things in your community, then you are not part of the community. Why would you recognize yourself with that? Which also, plays into so many other things. So it's not about official documentation, and it's not, you know, you don't need to be a documented citizen of the United States to be considered part of an American community, because it's community. It's not, you know, the legalness of it. So.
Okay. And for our final question, if you were invited to a potluck, what would you bring to the table?
This is my favorite one. This is difficult.
Okay.
Okay. So currently I live in Logan Square, and it is in the process of gentrification, which is sad and a lot to pick apart about it. But it's interesting because I think if I would bring something to a potluck representing the community I live in, where I live in right now, in terms of like physicality, I would bring maybe a mix of some authentic Mexican dish with a mix of, you know, the American style of food that I grew up with, but also pulling into that all of this Italian food I learned how to cook, which then I'm like, how can you possibly combine all of it, and why would I do that? I was like, well, I can make pico de gallo, and that's really good. And tomatoes are in pico de gallo, and tomatoes are like, I grew tomatoes growing up. I grew tomatoes in Italy. Clearly, tomatoes are part of this all of these Mexican dishes that I'm obsessed with, and it's, you know, tomatoes are always in grocery stores here. So it's interesting. Also, food is so important where I live too, because I'm trying to figure out, like, if this gentrification is hurting these authentic Mexican restaurants that have been there for years. But in a way, some of them are doing better because, you know, my favorite burrito